Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Hope you had an absolutely fantastic July 4th, Independence Day weekend. Hope you were safe. Hope you enjoyed your time with your family, time off relaxing. Pardon me. I got to work on one of my old cars, 67 Ford Galaxy, that I drug out of a car where it sat, out of a barn or garage rather, where it sat for 13 years. I managed to get it running. It was really cool. Well, I had a great weekend, therefore. All right. Well, welcome back again. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. We are doing a study of the man of sin. We have been told by John Hagee and a host of others, the man of sin was actually supposed to have been revealed in June 2016. Oops. Oh, well, maybe it's July. Or is it August? Listen, the man of sin is not alive today. He is not about to be revealed. And it's just all of these phantasmagoric predictions are just a continuing stream of embarrassment to the name of Christ. It is time for the Christian community to pay attention to what Paul said to living, breathing human beings 2,000 years ago when he said the man of sin was already alive. What I've been trying to share with you are some details, some facts that are to be found in the biblical record that demand that the man of sin was in fact alive in the first century, was in fact operative in the first century, was in fact killed in the first century at the coming of the Lord. One of the things that helps us nail this down is the reality that I shared with you in the last video, last Thursday's video, go back and watch that, is that the man of sin would sit in the temple of God. We have two choices here. The temple of God is the church, or the temple of God is the Jerusalem temple. I suggested to you then that the reality that the man of sin commits the abomination of desolation demands that the temple is the temple at Jerusalem. And here is the reason why. The term abomination of desolation is quite literally, according to the Hebrew scholars tell us, the abomination that brings desolation. Now, if the man of sin sits in the temple of God, and if the man of sin creates or commits the abomination, then we have to ask ourselves, who was it that sat in the temple of God in the first place? It was the high priest, the high priesthood. It was not foreigners. Now, someone may say, well, wait a minute. It might be foreigners who come in there and commit some sacrilege, like in the days of Antiochus Epiphanes, according to the book of Maccabees. That really does not qualify as the abomination that causes desolation. Consider the following. The only way that God ever allowed pagans to desolate or even to enter the Jerusalem temple was if Israel herself was guilty of violating the covenant. More on that later. So before a pagan, before a Gentile could ever enter into the Jerusalem temple, it meant that Israel herself had to be in overt, dramatic violation of God's covenant. David said, Psalms 41:11, "By this I know that you are well pleased with me, when my enemies do not triumph over me." Psalm 78 and other passages express the same thing. So, no pagan could ever enter into the temple of God unless Israel had already committed heinous, continual sin. And the pagan's presence there was itself desolation. In other words, that pagan entering the holy place meant that the city was being desolated. The city had been conquered. The city had been destroyed, or at least, at the very, very least, captured. So when we look at this term, abomination that causes desolation, you cannot have a pagan in the temple at Jerusalem unless Israel had already sinned, violating the covenant, and thus God was bringing covenant sanctions on her by allowing pagans in there, but the pagans themselves were the ones desolating the temple. Okay? So what I'm saying is, the abomination is Israel's sin. And if it's the man of sin who sits in the temple of God, then it's the high priest, the high priesthood. It's Israel that had committed such horrible, heinous sin that would lead to the desolation of the temple and the city. It's what it's what Daniel 9 teaches. So when we really honestly look at the abomination that causes desolation, seems to me we are forced to the conclusion that the man of sin has to be identified as Jewish, sitting in the Jerusalem temple, committing sacrilege that would bring the desolation of the temple. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's morning musing. Hey, look, do not forget, July 14th to the 16th. Wow, that's only 9 days away as I sit here talking this morning. Come be with us, Preterist Pilgrim Weekend. Our theme is the fallacy of amillennialism. I have a 2-day formal debate during the conference with Dr. David Hester of Faulkner University. You can sign up to watch this event free via live stream on your own laptop or your own computer. Go to BibleProphecy.com, follow the links, and you can register to watch it free of charge. Look, I got to tell you, the registrations for this have been just pouring in from literally all over the world. So, join us in person or via live stream for the Preterist Pilgrim Weekend 2016. Well, okay. Thanks so much again for joining me. We've got more on the man of sin, so we'll see you on the flip side.